Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this one, make sure you hit that button down below. But, of course, as you can see, as always, in these match reactions, Leeds United have just won 3-0 against Rotherham at Elland Road. Great win, great performance. Some other games happened today, which one went our way, one didn't. Ipswich, of course, played West Brom and they drew 2-2. At the moment, it's in the 90+8th minute against Huddersfield, Southampton Huddersfield. And Southampton have won 5-3 after Huddersfield being 2-0 up in that game at half-time. So that's very disappointing for us. But nevertheless, we are still third in the table and... yeah, it's a great result for us today because it's one of those ones where it could have been a banana skin. Somebody mentioned that it could be a bit like the Wigan of old, where you're playing against bottom of the league or very low down in the league and you're flying, and they just seem to be a bit of a bogey team. And that's what happened in the away fixture. We ended up drawing that one, but not today. Bamford scored 9 minutes in with his hand, and I'm pretty sure it was with his hand. At the moment it was happening, I was kind of thinking, well, did it come off his chest or what? When Firpo put the ball across the box after a nice little bit of interplay down the left-hand side, Firpo got the overlap, cut the ball across the box, it bounced up and Bamford looked like he tried to chest it, but he did kind of swing out an arm, and I think that did change the trajectory of the ball and put it in the back of the net. That was a lot of words in a short space of time. And then when it went to the halfway line, I went, oh God, let's not rule this out. But, of course, there is no VAR. So I was absolutely buzzing when I remembered that there was no VAR, and of course Patrick Bamford's goal is going to stand. And then of course we then went and scored in the 52nd minute as well in the second half. That was the one where Jorginho was fouled but still managed to keep on his feet, poked the ball through the defender's legs, and then Summerville was able to just poke that one past the goalkeeper into the bottom corner. Then, of course, we got a penalty for a foul on Nonto, I think it was, or Jorginho, and Summerville steps up and takes that. I'm telling you, balls of steel. He just Panenka'd it right down the middle. Lovely goal from Summerville. Puts him on 14 goals for the season. Which puts him in, I think, second or third of the top scorers list this season, which is amazing for someone who's kind of playing on the left wing. Leeds played really well. I thought when we created chances in the first half, we should have took more of them, but in the end it didn't matter because we managed to score 3 goals. And Rotherham were really, really, really poor. You can see why they're bottom of the league. You really can. I get it. Coming to Elland Road is going to be difficult for a team down the bottom of the table, but other teams have come with a plan. Like, look at your Plymouths. Now, Plymouth aren't bottom of the table fodder, but they only just got promoted from League One. But they had a plan, and they did okay against us, to be honest, in those FA Cup games and the league game. They had a plan and they did okay against us, and they managed to go and nick late goals. We should have been ahead, yes, in those games. But Rotherham, they just give the ball to the goalkeeper, leather it as far as up the pitch as you can, try and get the knockdowns. But Hugh Gill was terrible at holding the ball up. They were all awful. They really were. They just were really, you can understand why they're relegation fodder. But let's talk about the positives. One positive is Charlie Cresswell got on at the end of the pitch, and that kind of closes that little loop of him being out of favour with the manager and all this stuff that was going on, all the noise in the background, and finally back in the team again, gets himself a game. Colin Roberts made his debut towards the end of that game. Didn't really have too much to do, but I think he did okay in the moments where he had to. Of course, Jorginho, Summerville, Nonto and Bamford, I think all played very well. Namely, Summerville, of course, played really, really well. And Jorginho, of course, played really, really well as well. Nonto probably should have had a couple of goals. He dragged one wide. He probably should have had a penalty. He had one saved, a couple saved, really. So Leeds played well in those attacking positions, but mainly I think it was Summerville and Jorginho for me who were the best in those roles. Then you go a bit further back, I think Gruev again was really, really good. Kamara was decent, but I don't think he was maybe at his best, but he was decent enough for us to go and win that game. Joe Rodon, really good again. Ampadu, really good again. Firpo had a decent game. Sam Byram came on, had a good game as well in his position. And I also think that Archie Gray played really well in that right back role today, getting forward but defending defending as well. And actually, something that I forgot to mention about Nonto is when he came back, I thought he was really good at coming back and helping out Archie Gray and really providing a bit of extra support in there. And we don't usually do this in the thing, but that's just let's put that on the screen for you so you can see the starting lineup whilst I'm talking. That's the way we started, but obviously as things developed, you brought on Cresswell at the end for Kamara, sorry, and Ampadu went into the midfield for those final stages, which must have been nice for Ampadu to finally get a goal back in his normal position again. But yeah, again, we're unbeaten at Elland Road. We're unbeaten this year. We've won 6 on the bounce, I think. So that's really, really good. All positive signs that we're heading in the right direction. And yes, you may be disheartened that Southampton ended up winning that game, but at the start of the day, would you really have thought that Huddersfield were going to beat Southampton? Because I didn't. And so really, we have to be happy that Ipswich dropped points. Southampton, yes, they've won, but we are still going, and we are still on an absolute sort of we're on a train now that doesn't look like it's going to stop. And now we've brought in Connor Roberts as well. It's really positive to look in those forward directions. One thing I do think might happen is that because of that penalty, I mean, Summerville got taken off not long after that penalty. Now that brings up to one of two options: either Summerville was taken off because Farke doesn't want him to get injured, which is a perfectly viable option, or Summerville was taken off because Farke can't abide with people taking the mick, basically being show-offs, because he said that before in previous games, and players have had a little bit of a talking to about trying to nutmeg people and trying to do silly little flicks and stuff to wind other players up or things like that, you know what I mean? But Crescencio Summerville obviously did a Panenka down the middle for the penalty. He chipped it, and I can imagine that Farke might have been a bit annoyed about that. Personally, I wouldn't care. It's actually quite an effective way to score a penalty because the goalkeeper most of the time is going to dive. In the Championship, how many Panenkas do you see? You don't expect the player to chip it down the middle, and he scored with it. So for me, I don't think you can really complain about that at all. I really don't think you can complain about that. So yeah, in summary, I think Leeds played really well. I don't think we played the best we've ever played, but we could have easily scored 2, 3, 4 more goals, and Rotherham didn't look like they were going to score at all. Meslier had to pull off a few saves, you know, actually. I think that was the only player we didn't talk about, Meslier. He had to pull off a few saves where they put crosses into the box and they had headers, or they somehow managed to squeeze a shot away, and Meslier had to dive across and save it. So I think Meslier had a really good game, actually. A lot of the times he's been punching the ball. I think he's been told that he has to punch, to be honest. I think he has been told that he has to punch, because otherwise why would he be punching absolutely everything? But it's working so far. He's managing to punch things out of the box, and Leeds are able to go and clear it and go on counter-attacks from there. So I thought, again, really good game from Leeds. No one got injured. We all managed to get through the game unscathed. Another clean sheet as well, which will do Meslier and the defenders the world of good. So I'm very happy with that result, despite what the other result has happened today with Southampton. So yeah, let's take the positives and on to the next one, really. So thanks very much for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.